Welcome to the Empowered Mindset Virtual Retreat webinar. I'm Jess, founder and coach at Yoga Story, offering hybrid public yoga and meditation classes, private guidance for individuals and groups, and community events. I'm also the host of The Meditation Well, a meditation podcast for busy minds and busy lives. Supporter of all things mental health and yoga, I'm on the planning committee for the Mental Health Warrior Film Festival, a Madison, Wisconsin-based international film festival that screens films from across the globe related to mental health and wellness. And I'm the Volunteer Experiences Coordinator for the Mandala Yoga Festival, a free Appleton, Wisconsin-based event highlighting teachers from across Wisconsin and created to connect community through mind, body, and spirit practices. In 2022, I created the concept for Empowered Mindset on the heels of watching way too many cult documentaries. The questions I wanted to answer: how can we strengthen our minds, protect against manipulation and abuse of power, enhance cognitive function, and further develop critical thinking skills? After months of reading articles, research papers, books, and listening to podcasts, I developed the Empowered Mindset Workshop, introducing 7 healthy habits shown to improve brain and body function. After a personal experience with emotional abuse, I created the 7 pillars of an empowered mindset. During this webinar retreat, we'll define empowered mindset, a complement or extension of Carol Dweck's growth mindset, and I'll be sharing stories connected both to the 7 healthy habits and the 7 pillars. I'll share the basics of our brain anatomy and how empowered mindset habits, pillars, and practices like mindfulness and gratitude can enhance cognitive function, increase self-awareness, build our confidence, and empower us to perceive reality as clearly as possible. Thank you for joining me. Before we begin, please note that some of the practices I'll be guiding may not be appropriate for all bodies and mental states. Empowered mindset practices are experimental in nature and not a replacement for therapy, counseling, or medications that may be better suited to address deeper mental health needs. By participating in this webinar, you acknowledge the risks and take full responsibility for any injuries you may incur. Please do not engage in meditation practices while operating a vehicle or heavy machinery. And please honor your body's needs if you choose to engage in the movement practices offered throughout this retreat. The Yoga Story tagline is pause, practice, play. I encourage you to pause this webinar when prompted, as there is a lot of information to absorb. This webinar is positioned as a 3-day retreat, so I encourage you to get good rest between each session. Thank you for participating, and thank you for practicing with me. Now, let's begin. My dad often tells the story that when I was 6 or 7 years old, I came home from school with a book report project. The assignment was to pick a scene from the book, draw a picture of that scene, and share what the story was about. I got so frustrated because I could not make my drawing look exactly like the picture in the book. Already, I was developing a perfectionist or fixed mindset, a term coined by Carol Dweck in her book, Mindset: The New Psychology of Success. When operating from a fixed mindset, we start to identify our failings or limitations with who we are at our core. I couldn't make my drawing look perfect, And I got frustrated because this lack of perfection reflected on me. If I'm not perfect, then I'm not worthy. There is still research being done on how the brain works and the role of genetics. My guess is that my response was a combination of both nurture and nature. Both of my parents were in the Marine Corps, and in that setting, there are high standards for everything you do. Perfectionism can also be a survival or trauma response, trying to perfect one's environment in order to maintain some semblance of control in a chaotic environment. Whatever the reasons, the remedy to perfectionism is to develop what Dweck calls a growth mindset. One in which, instead of identifying with our failures or shortcomings or limitations, we work to learn from them. In one study, two groups of children were given a task. After completing that task, one group was told, "You're smart. You must be smart. You're so talented." While the other group were told, "You must have put in a good amount of effort." When offered an option between two other tasks, one described as easy and the other described as challenging, the group who were told they were smart chose the easy task, while the group that were told they put effort in chose the more challenging task. Oftentimes, what happens when we believe that our talents and ability to learn is innate and unchangeable, fixed mindset, we become afraid to challenge ourselves for fear of failure because of a false narrative that our success is based on inherent intelligence or talent. Whereas when we understand that our intelligence and talent can be developed over time through effort, we are more likely to continue taking on challenges because we know that with the right effort, along with resources, tools, guidance, we can, as the saying goes, accomplish anything we put our minds to. So, what does empowerment have to do with growth and development? What I'm finding through personal experience, listening to the stories of others, and some research into burnout and workplace culture is that when we combine a growth mindset with a deeper understanding of ourselves, our influences, and our connection to the world around us by incorporating habits and practices that enhance clarity of thought and whole body well being, we position ourselves to live more intentionally, maintain boundaries, seek the peace, harmony, and equilibrium our bodies naturally crave, and act with confidence regardless of failures or how others perceive us. Mindset is Mindset is what we believe about ourselves, the world around us, and our relationship to the world around us. Empowerment is the state in which one embodies confidence, self-worth, and an understanding of one's locus of control. An empowered mindset is an embodied state of confidence and contentment where one internalizes their empowerment through affirmation practices, boundary setting, values alignment, heart-centered focus, using one's voice and engaging in deep listening, education, and practicing trust in one's intuition. An empowered mindset complements growth with a focus on self-inquiry practices, confidence building, and acceptance. It is an ongoing practice of learning, growing, celebrating, and resting. How do we begin? Let's first take a look at at some basic brain anatomy. While each part of the brain is responsible for different parts of our human function, each complements each other. The bony structure of the spine supports the more vulnerable spinal cord. The spinal cord transmits neural messages between brain and body. The dopamine and serotonin, mood boosting chemicals in the brain, get released from the temporal lobe to support our ability to make decisions, regulate emotion, and remember things, and so on. Practices that help enhance brain function are mindfulness meditation, gratitude, and restful sleep. While some believe that we build resilience through overcoming difficult moments in our lives, I believe that resilience is first developed by practicing those activities that help us to overcome difficult life events. Live at peace with ourselves in the midst of chaos, and take on challenging projects or roles. Mindfulness is the practice of observation without attaching value judgment, good or bad, to what we observe. This practice has been known to help manage and reduce stress, regulate emotional response, and increase pain tolerance. It affects mainly the frontal lobe and the amygdala, located in the temporal lobe. The amygdala is responsible for fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. When activated, usually in moments of high stress, we may become angry and want to fight. We may want to run. We may feel too defeated to make any decision at all. Or we may become complacent, following along with what others want us to do instead of acting out of our own intention and based on our own set of values and beliefs. Mindfulness can help calm the nervous system, encouraging a moment of pause so that we can choose more intentional action or non-action. Gratitude releases both dopamine and serotonin, mood-enhancing neurotransmitters in the brain. When we express gratitude, our mental attitude is redirected away from lack and towards abundance. Engaging in gratitude practices is not meant to dismiss our needs, but instead to encourage a connection between neural pathways that can shift our perspective and encourage us to consider a both and mentality that may guide us toward solutions for our needs. I can be grateful for my job and acknowledge a need for more support, for example. Let's journal. Take a moment to write down your physical, mental, and emotional experience in this moment. Try not to make any judgments, but like a journalist, just taking down facts, jot down what sensations, thoughts, and emotions are arriving. I'll give about, or rather, you could pause the webinar here to take a moment to journal on physical, mental, and emotional space. Now, let's make a gratitude list. What is one object, one place, person, and something about yourself that you are grateful for? Spend about 2 minutes pausing the webinar here to write down your gratitude list. Now let's take a pause to breathe. Please note that breathwork practices are not appropriate for all bodies. Please listen to your body as I guide these 3 practices. We'll start with the coherent breath in even count, inhale, exhale. Our count will be 5.5. First, we'll start with a deep breath in through the nose, deep breath out through the nose. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and return to the natural rhythm of your breath, to your natural rhythm of breath. And then we'll move into our box breath. Again, if you have any limitations with breath holds, please refrain from participating in this practice. A box breath will count 4 inhale, 4 count hold your breath, 4 count exhale, and hold your breath for 4 counts. And we'll do this for 3 cycles of breath. First, together, we'll find that deep breath in, deep breath out. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Return to your natural rhythm of breath. And finally, we'll move into our 4, 7, 8 breath. Again, if breath holds are a contraindication for you, please refrain from participating in this practice. The 4, 7, 8 breath is a 4 count inhale, 7 count hold, 8 count exhale. Together, once more, deep breath in, deep breath out. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And return to your natural rhythm of breath. We'll do one more journal prompt. By nature, Our actions are primarily driven by our emotions. While mindfulness, gratitude, and breathing practices can assist us in managing those emotions, our actions, preferences, and how we show up are often determined by an emotional attachment to how we're showing up, what actions we take, and what we prefer. In this journaling prompt, take a look at the emotions wheel. Choose which emotions resonate most with you in this moment and journal freely about that emotion or those emotions. And remember, two things can be true at once. You might feel both excited and overwhelmed. If these words feel too triggering, consider describing your emotions as a landscape more abstractly. Taking a more abstract approach can be especially helpful for heavy emotions, offering some detachment. For example, if you're feeling mournful, you might describe your mental state as many dark clouds heavy with rain, suspended in a gray and foggy sky. Take about 2 to 5 minutes to journal on your emotions, pausing the webinar here. Let's move. Oftentimes, it can be difficult to express feelings in words. So, another thing we can do to support our mental health and emotional health is to move the body. Moving the body supports spine health, thereby supporting our spinal cord, nervous system, and brain function. As your body allows, try this sun salutations practice. After this practice, I encourage you to take a 15-minute or longer break before we talk about the 7 healthy habits, their benefits, and how to plug them into your day. You can pause the webinar here, scanning the QR code or following the website to follow along to this sun salutations practice. And thank you for practicing with me. Welcome back. Oops. The brain is complex, and honestly, that's an understatement. It's likely there is more we don't know about the brain than we do know. In James Nestor's book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art, he shares the story of a woman whose amygdala was impaired to the point where she had no fear. Some of us hear this and think, yeah, that sounds great. However, having no sense of fear or danger is like lacking our sense of touch. We might touch a hot burner and not feel it, but it will still cause damage to our skin. This woman's lack of fear, or more precisely stated, lack of ability to discern danger, made her vulnerable to dangerous situations. She participated in experiments to determine if there is anything that could be done to trigger the fear response. One experiment was to restrict her breathing. Her survival instincts kicked in, and this was the only thing that finally activated her amygdala. Researchers learned that the amygdala is tied to our respiratory system. This is why deep breathing can be so helpful in calming the nervous system when we are stressed or when our sympathetic fight or flight nervous system is activated. In the fall of 2023, on the heels of a traumatic experience, I started to experience signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. In an attempt to heal, I started going for walks at sunrise, combining two habits I knew could be good for my mental and emotional health: walking and sunlight. While I still needed additional interventions, increasing the frequency of my therapy visits and going on a low dosage of an antidepressant, the first step helped me gain the clarity I needed to seek additional help. In 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek H. Murthy put out a report that outlined research on social connection, community, and belonging, along with strategies individuals, communities, and governmental entities can use to combat what the Surgeon General described as the loneliness epidemic. This 82-page report delivered insights into the detrimental effects of isolation. One such insight that has been widely reported on is that lacking social connection is as dangerous as smoking up to 15 cigarettes per day. During the COVID pandemic, in the spring of 2020, I hosted Zoom lunches with friends and created a series where I would touch on a topic on Facebook Live, then invite anyone interested to join me on Zoom for additional discussion. These were usually very small groups. However, I remember one woman in particular expressing gratitude to me for hosting these gatherings. We are social beings, and the research shows that social connection has both physical and mental health benefits, including decreased inflammation, better sleep, increased resilience, and an increased sense of meaning and hope. It is often in those most chaotic or uncertain times in our personal lives and across the globe that connecting with our friends, family, and neighbors can have a significant positive impact on our sense of safety, belonging, clarity, and focus. So as you might notice from some of these healthy habits, the word neuroplasticity comes up. So what is neuroplasticity? As you see here, hydration, sleep, walking and exercise each support neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to form new neural connections and pathways. The concept of growth mindset was born out of an understanding that we can change and learn and grow. When we learn something new, we can challenge our minds to think in different ways. When we take an action that might be outside of our comfort zone, we expand our comfort zone, making it easier and easier to take on additional challenges. However, it is not so much the initial act of learning or taking an action that sustains those new neural pathways, it's sleep. This is why getting a good amount of sleep or engaging in deep rest styles of meditation like yoga nidra are so important. It is during sleep that those neural pathways are solidified so that when we wake up the next morning, we retain what we learned the day before. Our brain and body need rest. And this is why I include rest as part of building resilience. We all know how we feel when we don't get enough sleep or when that sleep is interrupted. Now, depending on our personal circumstances, those sleep disruptions may be unavoidable. However, Yoga Nidra or other deep rest meditation practices, mindfulness style, Yoga Nidra is a mindfulness style of meditation that includes intention setting, body scan, and guided imagery, has been shown to have similar mental benefits as sleep. We won't be practicing Yoga Nidra in this webinar. However, you can find Yoga Nidra meditations on my podcast, The Meditation Well. The main takeaway here is that rest helps us live well, learn, and stay active. How can we start plugging these activities into our day? Here is a framework for thinking about how to set up your day. We all run on different schedules, and this framework keeps our day generic enough so that whether you're working first, second, or third shift, or perhaps have a more flexible schedule, you can still plug these habits somewhere into your unique schedule. Consider which habits you can do before you even get out of bed. For example, I keep a glass of water by my nightstand beside my bed so that when I awake in the morning, one of the first things I can do is hydrate. Nasal breathing and meditation are also practices that can easily be done in bed. You might also consider some physical movement, warming up the spine with twists and side stretches, forward folds, and gentle back bends. Then choose something you can do at the start of your day, before work or whatever commitments you have. What is one thing you can incorporate before getting into the main activities of your day? Many of us who work have breaks, but if your schedule is more flexible, you may have to be more intentional about working breaks into your day. Similar to start of day, end of day really means the end of your workday or the main activity of your day. Before, or perhaps even as a part of your mealtime, you might incorporate, again, hydration or social connection. Maybe you go for a walk before or after your meal. And then as you approach bedtime, this might be a good time to journal, reflecting on your day, noting challenges, noting your energy, noting what went well and what you're grateful for. And then finally, once in bed, especially if it's been a particularly stressful day, or even if not, just as a way to stay consistent with developing the habit, you might come back to the breath, engaging in intentional breathing practices to calm the body and mind and prepare it for sleep. We are at the end of session 1, and I want to invite you to practice this 5 senses guided meditation. You can scan the code or go to the website address listed here, or find the meditation well wherever you listen to podcasts and go to episode 1. This webinar is set up as a retreat, and we packed a lot of information into day 1. I encourage you to pause here, get some rest, and join me again tomorrow where we'll talk about the first 3 pillars of an empowered mindset. Thank you for practicing with me. Peace.